everyone. Ready to conquer some debt? We're diving deep into two of the most popular methods out there, Snowball and Avalanche.
Yeah, they both have some really interesting pros and cons.
Right, and we're going to go beyond just the basic stuff today. Really get into when each one makes the most sense and what to look out for.
Because it's not one size fits all, right?
Absolutely not. So let's start with the debt snowball. This is the one where you list out your debts from smallest to largest.
And you completely ignore the interest rates for now. Just focus on that smallest balance.
So you throw everything you've got at that tiny debt first.
Exactly. The whole idea is to build momentum, knock out that first win, and it feels good.
I bet. Checking things off a list is always satisfying, but how does it actually snowball from there?
Well, once that first one's gone, you take the money you were putting towards it,
Okay.
and you roll that amount onto your next smallest debt payment. So now you're paying even more each month.
So it's like a snowball gathering more and more as it rolls downhill.
Exactly. And the faster those debts disappear, the more motivated you feel to keep going.
Yeah, and that motivation is key, right?
Yeah.
Because paying off debt can be a real slog.
Oh, absolutely. There was actually a study from Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management.
Interesting.
They found that people using the snowball method were way more likely to stick with their debt repayment plans.
Wow, so it's not just anecdotal. There's actual evidence that the psychological boost works.
Yeah, those little wins trigger dopamine in our brains, which makes us feel good and want to keep going.
Pretty powerful stuff. Okay, so we've got Snowball, which is all about quick wins and staying motivated. But what about the debt avalanche?
That's the more strategic one, for
Yeah.
sure. More numbers focused.
Okay, so less feelings, more math.
Exactly. For the avalanche method, you list out your debts by interest rate from highest to lowest.
And then attack that top one with everything you've got.
Yep, even if it takes a while to see it disappear, you're saving serious cash in the long run by tackling that high interest debt first.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But can you give us an example of how much someone could actually save?
Sure. Let's say you've got a $5,000 credit card debt at 18% interest. Ouch, right?
That's rough.
And then a $2,000 personal loan at 5%. With Avalanche, you'd tackle that credit card first and potentially save hundreds, even thousands of dollars in interest compared to paying off the smaller loan first.
Okay, so the difference can be pretty big. So we've got these two very different methods, but how do we decide which one is right for a specific person? It seems like we need to weigh the pros and cons.
Absolutely. Let's start with the snowball method. The pros are pretty clear. It's motivating, super easy to understand, and you get that feeling of accomplishment early on.
Those early wins can be huge for some people, especially if those smaller debts are really weighing them down.
Right. But the downside is you might end up paying more in interest overall.
Because you're not focusing on those high interest debts right away.
Exactly. So it's not the most mathematically efficient.
Got it. So what about the avalanche method? We know it saves the most money and can lead to faster overall payoff. What are the downsides there?
Well, the main one is that it can feel really slow and discouraging at first, especially if you've got some big, high-interest debts looming.
Yeah, staring down a huge balance can definitely be demotivating.
And it requires you to be a little more organized, too, keeping track of those interest rates and making sure you're always targeting the right debt.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Short-term gratification versus long-term savings.
Exactly. And that's where it gets interesting because choosing the best method isn't always so clear-cut. It really depends on your personality and your financial situation. You know, if you're someone who thrives on those quick wins and needs that motivation to keep going, the snowball method could be perfect for you.
Right, especially if those smaller debts are causing a lot of stress. It's almost like clearing them out can free up some mental space.
Exactly. But if saving the most money is your top priority and you're okay with a longer grind up front, the avalanche method might be a better choice.
So it's almost like snowballs for the sprinters and avalanches for the marathon runners.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's all about understanding what will work best for you and keep you engaged. Because let's face it, paying off debt can be tough no matter what method you use.
Absolutely. But isn't there some kind of middle ground, like a way to combine the best of both worlds?
Ah, you're thinking like a pro. There is. We call it the blended approach.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this blended approach.
So imagine this. You start by knocking out a couple of those smaller debts, snowball style. Get those quick wins under your belt.
Okay.
And then once you've got some momentum, you switch gears and go full avalanche, focusing on those high-interest debts to save the most money overall.
So it's like a hybrid approach. A little bit of sprint, a little bit of marathon.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is you can adjust it as you go. If you hit a rough patch, you can always go back to knocking out a small debt for a quick boost.
So it's all about flexibility and finding what works best for you at any given time.
Right. It's your journey. You're in control. But let's not lose sight of the big picture here. What are the key takeaways you want people to remember when it comes to choosing a debt repayment method?
I think the biggest takeaway is there's no one right answer. The best method is the one that you can stick with, the one that fits your personality and your financial situation.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Consistency is key. But I know it can be hard to stay motivated, especially when you're staring down a mountain of debt. Any advice on how to stay focused and keep that end goal in sight?
That's a good question. What do you recommend?
Visualize it. Take some time to really imagine yourself debt-free. What would you do with all that extra money? Would you finally take that dream vacation? Invest in your future? Start your own business?
Or just have some peace of mind. That's a big one for me.
Absolutely. Visualizing that future and feeling the emotions that come with it can be incredibly powerful.
It's like creating a roadmap for yourself, a clear picture of where you're headed. It really helps you connect with why you're doing this in the first place. Makes those sacrifices feel more worthwhile.
Exactly. It's about more than just the numbers, right? It's about reclaiming your freedom.
Yeah, I love that. But let's be realistic for a second. Even with the best plans and the best mindset, sometimes life gets in the way. What if you hit a roadblock or start feeling overwhelmed by the whole process?
It's okay to feel that way. It's totally normal. Debt repayment is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, you can't expect to be perfect all the time.
Right. There will be setbacks. The key is to be kind to yourself and just get back on track when you can.
And remember that progress is what matters, not perfection.
Absolutely.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to a financial advisor, a trusted friend, or join a debt support group.
There's something powerful about knowing you're not alone in this, right?
Definitely. Sharing your journey can give you support, accountability, and new ideas you might not have thought of on your own.
It's like having a whole cheer squad rooting you on.
Exactly. You've got this. You're already taking steps in the right direction just by learning about these different methods. Now it's time to choose the one that speaks to you. Set your sights on that debt-free future and start taking action.
And don't forget to celebrate those wins along the way. Every debt you pay off, no matter how small, deserves a little happy dance.
It's a reminder of how far you've come and how much closer you are to achieving your goal.
So let's end this deep dive with a little thought experiment. Close your eyes for a second and picture yourself 5 years from now completely debt-free. What does your life look like? What are you doing? Who are you with? How do you feel?
Hold on to that vision, let it motivate you, and know that with the right strategy and a little bit of effort, you can make that dream a reality.
Awesome advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.